Okay, welcome to this video. Now we will continue doing the integration of secant and tan. So just give me a quick summary here for you. We have seen if we have secant to the power of n, tan to the power of m dx. The first thing we have to look, if n is even, which means the power of secant is even, okay, if the power of secant is even, the first thing we need to do is split secant squared of x, and then we do the steps that we explained in the previous video. The second method is that if n is odd, then we have two options to look at. The first option, that m is again odd, which we said it is the odd situation, okay? And in that situation, we need to split secant 10. In that situation, split secant x to x. Now, there is only one situation we didn't discuss from last time. If we have n is odd and m is even. And this is usually, we don't have a clear strategy, but usually, I'm just saying, usually we will use integration by parts. And in order to use integration by parts, we will use the following fact. The first fact, if we just have a secant x, will be a crucial for our chapter. This is, you need to memorize it. It is always ln absolute value of secant x plus tan x. That is a crucial one, and we need to memorize this one. So this is always, we're gonna memorize secant x. The second crucial thing, if you understand the idea how we will do integral of secant cube x dx. Here you need to understand the idea that we are going to use. Okay, so this is secant cube x dx. We just need the idea. So here we have integration by parts, and here we have secant cube. So n is odd, m is even, and we take secant cube. Later we will see how we can use the idea of secant cube to anything of this form. So let me go to the next page and let me do the secant cube first, and then we do another example. Secant cube, that's what we start with. I will use integration by parts. So in order to use integration by parts, I will do the following. I will take secant x, I will write it as two pieces. Secant x, secant squared. Now, integration by parts, I will choose this to be my dv because it is something I can find the integration of secant squared easily. And this will be my u because I know what's the derivative of secant x. So the next one will be u equal secant x, dv equal secant square x dx. So v equal tan x because the integration of secant square tan x, and the derivative of secant is sec x tan x dx. So the integration of secant cube x dx will be u times v, integration by parts, and then v times du. U times v is secant x tan x minus integral v du will be what? Will be tan square x secant x dx. So far so good. This is secant cube x dx. This is secant x tan x minus integral. Now if you remember, if we have tan square, I guess we have to make it as secant square x minus 1 secant x dx, which is this one, secant x tan x minus integral of secant cube x dx plus integral of secant x dx. Now, if you look at this one, it's the same as this one. So let me call it I. Do you remember when we used this idea before? We'll just call this one I. So this is I. This is secant x tan x. Now this is minus I. This is plus. Now the integral of this one, we just got it down. It's secant x plus tan x. Okay, and finally move the negative I to the other side. That will give me 2I equal secant x tan x plus the ln secant x plus tan x. And finally, the I is just 1 over 2 of this one, which is secant x tan x plus ln secant x plus tan x. And that's the final answer. That's how we do the integration by parts with the secant cube. Now, let's see another example of, let's say, the same idea. Something like this. Can I just move to the other page? In this one, I'll just give you the idea of this one. Let's say we have tan to the power of 3 x secant to the power of no, this is odd case. No. We need this one to the 4. This is 3 dx. The idea, I think, it should be the same as what we just did. We have to take tan to the power 4 and we write it as tan square x squared secant cube x dx. Now the tan is secant square x minus 1. Just to simplify matters, let me just write this one as 2. So this is 2, this is 1, and this is secant cube x dx. The idea is we change everything into secant. So this will be secant 5x minus secant 3x dx. Now, this is, we already did it before, and this is, we can do it in a similar way to secant cube x, and by that we can find the answer. So sometimes if we have this weird situation, we have to do it in that way. It will take a very long time, but this is the idea of doing it. By this, we finish section 7.2. Next videos, after a couple of days, will be about section 7.3, trigonometric substitution.